Good day, everyone. I am John Leonard Onagalio from BSITS2A. So I'm going to discuss my activity 1 about operating systems. So for the table of contents, we need to compare the Windows 9598, ME, XP, Vista 7, 8, 8.8, 10, and 11 in terms of the following: vendor support, code name, system type, architecture, system requirements, features, application compatibility, backup and restore procedures, and lastly, installation procedures. So first is the vendor support. So here in the vendor support, we're going to compare each version, the release date and end of support date. So for the release date, it was from the name itself, the date where it was released, and for the end of support date, it's the date where Windows no longer or Microsoft no longer supports or keep an update or provide security updates and patches to this version. So for the first version, the Windows 95, it was released back on August 24, 1995, and the end of support date was December 31, 2011. For Windows 98, June 25, 1998, the date it was released on, and then for the end of support date, July 11, 2006. To note that this July 11, 2006, it's considered as the extended support date, but uh, they stopped totally supporting the Windows 98 on July 11. And for Windows ME or the Millennium Edition, it was released back on September 14, 2000, and for the end of support date, same goes with the Windows 98, which was way back July 11, 2006. So both of this version, the Windows 98 and ME, they both had an extended support from the Microsoft. So for the Windows XP, it was released back on October 25, 2001, and then the end of support date is April 8, 2014. For Windows Vista, it was released back on January 30, 2007. For the end of support date, April 11, 2017. For the Windows 7, it was released way back on October 22, 2009. And for the end of support date, January 14, 2020. So for the Windows 8 and 8.1, the Windows 8 was released first on October 26, 2012, and then they released another version which was on October 17, 2013. So the end of support date for the Windows 8 was January 12, 2016, and for the 8.1, January 10, 2023. For the Windows 10, it was released way back on July 29, 2015, and it will be, or the Microsoft will be ending its support on October 14, 2025. So for the Windows 11, October 5, 2021 was released back that date. And then for the end of support date, there are no announcement or final dates yet where Microsoft will going to end its support. So here at the bottom, you can see the note that the Microsoft shifted to a Windows as a service model in Windows 10, meaning to receive the newest security upgrades and functionality, users won't need to switch to a new operating system every few years. Alternatively, customers can keep using their computer's Windows 10 operating system, which will get upgrades on a regular basis to improve its usefulness and security. So, unlike the other older version that you need to wait for a few years to receive the newest security upgrades and functionality. So for the Windows 10, they provide regular basis of update patch and security patches to improve its usefulness and security. So for the code name, every Windows operating system version has a unique code name that is usually used in development. So for the Windows 95, code name was Chicago, Windows 98 Memphis, Windows ME or Millennium Edition Millennium. For Windows XP, Whistler, Windows XP. For the Windows XP Home Edition, it's called Whistler. And then for the Windows XP Media Center Edition, Freestyle. For the Windows Vista, the Longhorn. Windows 7, Vienna. It was previously codenamed Blackcomb. And then for the Windows 8, 8.1, for the Windows 8, it has no specific code name. So they use Windows 8 as it is. And then for Blue, for the 8.1 update. The Windows 10, they called it Threshold or the Redstone. And then for the Windows 11 is Sun Valley. So for the code name, they use it for secrecy and to keep the leaks from coming out while the Windows version is still in development. And now for the system type architecture. So for the Windows 95, 98, and ME or Millennium Edition, the system type architecture that they supported was 32-bit. So when we say 32-bit, it is the OS is designed to work with data units that are 32 bits wide. This means that the CPU can process 32 bits of data at a time. So in a 32-bit system, the maximum amount of addressable memory is limited to 4 gigabytes. This includes both RAM and other memory map hardware. So it was still not that fast back then, but when Windows XP was released, it was initially released as a 32-bit, but later editions had 64-bit versions, meaning the professional x64 edition of the Windows XP. So when we say 64-bit, obviously it is designed to work with data units that are 64 bits wide. This allows the CPU to process larger chunks of data at once. So in here, the addressable memory is much larger than in 32-bit system architecture. It can theoretically support up to 8.4 million terabytes of RAM. So from 4 gigabytes to 18.4 million terabytes. It's a big leap in our technology. So for the Windows Vista up to Windows 10, it supports both 32-bit or 64-bit devices. And then lastly, for the Windows 11, it only supports 64-bit devices only. And now for the system requirements, here it specifies the requirements or the laptop specifications or personal computer specifications that you must have in order for the Windows OS to run. So for the Windows 95, the CPU is 386DX or higher. The recommended is 486. The RAM, very small, 4 MB or 8 MB. So for the hard disk, it should have a 50 to 55 MB of free space. So for the Windows 98, 486DX or 66 MHz or higher. And then for the RAM, 16 MB and 24 MB recommended. Hard disk is 500 MB of free space. So I'm not going to read all of this now. Instead, what we want to conclude here that the higher the version of the Windows or your OS, the higher the CPU, the RAM, and the hard disk it needs, because again it has more features and more capabilities now. So it is only right or possible for the CPU, RAM, and hard disk to be also higher to accommodate the updates, the changes that the Windows version has made. So for the Windows 11, again, it needs, as you can see here, at least 2 cores on a compatible 64-bit processor. And for the CPU, the i series, I think it only supports the i series that are 9th gen and above. And then for the RAM, you need 4 gigabyte, and the hard disk is 64 gigabyte of free space. So compare that RAM that we needed for the Windows 11 to run compared to the Windows 95. As you can see, 4 MB is nothing to 4 gigabyte of RAM. So as we have newer versions of our OS, we also need higher versions of or higher specifications of our CPU, RAM, and hard disk. So for the features, the Microsoft Windows 95, I also included their logo so we can see their evolutions throughout the year. So for the Windows 95, the introduction of the Start menu. It offers a way to access programs and carry out additional tasks within the Windows shell. It functions like this but does not look like this at all since this one's updated and modern. And then for the next is the taskbar for easy program navigation. It chooses the apps that you have opened. So it functions still like this but does not completely look like this. And then this one at the bottom. And then the next one is plug and play hardware support. So for this, with the help of the plug and play function, Windows can identify and set up new hardware devices without need for manual intervention. I think this one's a big leap since every time that you, for example, if we're going to apply it today or yeah today, if we want to use a computer or I mean a printer that's not, let's say, Bluetooth, that you have to connect it through USB, you still need to download its driver using a disk before you can use it. But I think for modern computers and printers, you can just plug the USB and it will work automatically. But back then, before you can use new hardware devices, you still need, let's say, a manual and a driver first installed in your computer or in your devices for it to function properly. So this one, or the process that they did, was to introduce the language of that device so that your computer or your laptop can understand or can communicate with the external hardware devices that you've added. And lastly is it's the introduction of the 32-bit multitasking. So for the Windows 98, improved stability over Windows 95, and then the support for USB devices. However, you will need to install some additional drivers for the mass storage device because the operating system does not come with any generic or universal drivers pre-installed. And then the introduction of Internet Explorer 4.0. But at this time, users or computer users still prefer to use the documents that is provided in your personal computer and not the documents or information that are being provided from different parts of the world, which is being connected by the Internet Explorer. And the next is the Windows ME or Millennium Edition. Enhanced multimedia features. So they enhance the media player and then the system restore for recovery from system issues. So this one's important because this function allows you to restore your PC to a prior state in order to assist you in recovering from system troubles. So let's say you updated Windows ME, your computer or personal computer to Windows ME from Windows 98, and then it encountered a problem in updating it. So they provided a system restore for recovery. So meaning if you update Windows ME to Windows XP and it encounters some trouble, then you can recover your system before it was being updated. And then the last is Windows Movie Maker. This one is one of the enhanced multimedia features. It was introduced. It is a video editing software. And then the next is Windows XP, a more modern and stable NT-kernel. So for NT-kernel, it is the core component responsible for managing system resources. providing a secure and stable environment. So it means new technology, and the Windows NT architecture was introduced by Microsoft to replace older Windows 9X architecture. So system restore and system file protection. So in here you can just, for the Windows Millennium Edition, you can just uh restore your system but not the files. This one's built in function, but you can recover your or save your files through external devices like hard disk. And then for the Windows XP, it both features system restore and system file protection, in which it protects both your system and system files before upgrading to the next Windows version. So here, user interface improvements. The remote desktop feature, it was introduced there. It is possible, it made possible to uh, remote your computer from home or while traveling or from another office. This enables users to access their office computers data programs and network resources from anywhere in the world. Next is Windows Vista, the Aero Glass visual style. So the Glass, it, it was introduced in Windows Vista and then used again in Windows 7 but discontinued on Windows 8. So here, the term Aero stands for authentic, energetic, reflective, and open. The key elements of the design philosophy behind these interfaces. So it's known for its transparent window borders and visual effects, giving the desktop a sleek and modern appearance. So it's not the one that we're used to right now, where it's not transparent anymore. And then the Windows sidebar with gadgets. Its widgets Its widgets can display the date and time among other things, but the widgets can only be found on a sidebar. And then the Windows search for improved file searching. Next is Windows 7. The taskbar designed with jump lists. So it now looks like this, the current one. And then libraries for organizing files. A library is a pointer to one or more computer directories and the files contained within them. So I think this one's the File Explorer. The AeroSnap for window management enables you to fix or snap windows to the computer's screen's borders. So here you can improve your multitasking more, since you can open more windows and enable to snap or just put it in your computer screen's borders, and then improve performance and resource management. So the Windows 8.1. So I think from now on, Windows 8, from now, like Windows 11 back to Windows 8, they use this new logo. Back then it was this colorful, and now it's just plain light blue. So for Windows 8 or 8.1, the introduction of the Metro UI and Start screen. That is the name of Windows 8's new interface design, which places programs and tiles on the start screen. So here the layout is like in styles. So it should look like this when you open or start your personal computer or laptops. And then Charms bar for system-wide settings. It is the name of the bar that can be made to show up on the right side of the screen. Its purpose is to give users of the start screen and modern UI apps a uniform way to access devices, search, sharing, and settings, and improve touchscreen support and Windows Store for app distribution. And then for the Windows 10, it is where the return of the start menu with live tiles. Cortana, a virtual assistant created by Microsoft that carried out operations including reminding its users of appointments and responding to their inquiries using the Bing search engine. So, unfortunately, Cortana was discontinued by Microsoft. So if you try to search Cortana in your devices, it will not be supported, or I think it's gone. It's not gone, but it's not being supported. So you can use it in your devices. But you can still search it out, but it will not again function or will not be supported by the Microsoft. And then virtual desktops for better multitasking. Windows 10 allows you to create several virtual desktops, each of which can show various open windows and apps. So in here from the word itself, virtual desktop. So meaning we can create multiple desktops that is virtual. So you can, let's say for this desktop you can like use it for personal use, or like say social media scrolling or entertainment videos like YouTube. And then for the if you're going to create another virtual desktop, it will look like a blank desktop that you did not open anything at all. And for that you can, let's say, use it for formal or for, let's say, work or school related purposes. And then next is the Universal Windows Platform apps. So in here, Xbox One, tablets, PCs, and smartphones are just a few examples of the Windows devices that support Universal Windows Platform apps. Meaning, it has different version, same app but different version for, let's say, Xbox One and for your personal computers. It's still the same app but a different version. But it can still function the same, and you can like plug in your same account in there. And for the Windows 11, the redesigned start menu and taskbar, enhanced snap features with snap layouts and snap groups. It snaps windows into preset groupings or layouts to help you arrange your screen for better multitasking. So in here you can like group your windows in a snap, and then you can choose whatever layout that is possible in there. So again, you can, it enhances your multitasking performance since you can see multiple windows at a time. The integration of Microsoft Teams, I think the integration of Microsoft Teams being solidified here in Windows 11. And then for the improved gaming features with direct storage and auto HDR, games can load assets more quickly thanks to direct storage, which makes the most of high performance NVMe SSDs. Auto HDR automatically applies high dynamic range upgrades to games, giving them a more vivid and realistic visual style. I think for this last part, the improved gaming features, since Windows 11 can only run on 64-bit 64-bit processor or 64-bit devices like your laptop and personal computers, it can run more games or demanding games than ever before. Part is application compatibility. So for the Windows 95, although it runs in 32-bit architecture, it can still support 16-bit application. And then for the Win32 API, was introduced in Windows 95, enabling programmers to construct 32-bit applications. So for the MS-DOS, DOS compatibility, DOS stands for Disk Operating System, meaning the system or software that runs on hard disk. It was pre-installed in Windows 95 to provide compatibility with MS-DOS programs. Users could use the Windows 95 interface to run MS-DOS programs. And then the compatibility mode. It was introduced in Windows 95, enabling users to run some applications as though they were on a previous version of Windows. The purpose of this feature was to fix problems with outdated program compatibility. And then for the Windows 98, it still supports 16-bit and 32-bit hybrid architecture. In contrast to contemporary 64-bit operating system, it still employs the 16 and 32-bit. Then for the driver support, Windows 98 may not have drivers compatible with modern hardware, making it difficult to operate the operating system on more recent computers. And the limitation of the 32-bit. Its ability to effectively manage massive amounts of RAM is limited, since it only goes up to 4 gigabytes of RAM if it's only 32-bit. So for the Windows ME or Millennium Edition, DOS-based legacy support, older DOS-based programs that depended on real mode DOS capability might not work with Windows ME since it did not support real mode MS-DOS. Since the introduction of the plug and play, in which you can just connect your external devices or hardware without having the need to install drivers in them, the support for TOS base is continued to fall down. And the device driver compatibility were not updated by several hardware manufacturers, which led to problems with peripherals and hardware parts. And then the system restore and compatibility mode, it is a tool for rolling back the system to a prior state. It was introduced with Windows ME, meaning if you upgraded to Windows XP and it or you encountered some problems, you can roll back to the previous or to the prior state, which is the Windows ME. Although this could help resolve problems brought on by software installations, it was not always successful. And the next is Windows XP. Many recent apps were made to work with more recent versions of Windows like Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10, and Windows XP has become obsolete, meaning since the introduction of 7, 8, and 10, Windows XP is not compatible for modern apps or applications. It is also possible that some hardware makers have discontinued making drivers for Windows XP. And Microsoft officially stopped supporting Windows XP. This indicates that Microsoft stopped offering operating system security updates and technical assistance. Next is Windows Vista. It encountered a number of difficulties, one of which was program compatibility. Because of modifications to the operating system's architecture and security measures, many individuals and organizations encountered issues. So the last day of support for Windows Vista was April 11, 2017. And then for the Windows 7, older programs that were meant to function with Windows 7 ought to keep functioning with the OS. Compatibility can, however, become a problem when software companies provide updates for their apps and technology progresses. And strong interoperability across a variety of applications in general, and increased performance and stability over Vista. So here in strong interoperability, you can use more more applications ra- compared to Windows Vista. And then Windows 8 8.1, most Windows 7 designed applications are known to work well with Windows 8 and Windows 8.1, meaning applications released or functioning during Windows 7, you can still use it in your Windows 8 and Windows 8.1 since they share the same architecture and compatibility in which they run both 32-bit and 64-bit. And then the Windows 10, this is where the backward compatibility, they put their efforts in here. So they work hard to make sure Windows 10 is compatible with a large number of applications, including those made for previous iterations of Windows. So Windows applications created for Windows 7, 8 are expected to work seamlessly with Windows 10. Compatibility mode, users can run older applications in a compatibility mode built into Windows 10 that simulates an earlier version of the operating system. And app certification, this one's not This one's not required, but it encourages programmers to use this app certification so that to make sure that apps adhere to security and compatibility requirements. So if you have this app certification, meaning you won't be having much problem into making your apps compatible with the current operating system, and then 64-bit and 32-bit support. It can be used on Windows 10 again, since it both support the 32-bit and 64-bit applications. And then for the driver compatibility, Windows 10 frequently installs the required drivers for hardware components automatically. So Microsoft Store, a platform for distributing contemporary universal Windows platform apps, is offered via the Microsoft Store. Meaning if you want to download applications that will surely run on your devices or in your current operating system, you can use the Microsoft Store. These applications are made to work with a variety of Windows 10 devices instead of having to rely to third party sources. You can use the Microsoft Store. And the developer support, Microsoft offers resources and development tools to help programmers create applications that are optimized for the platform. And in Windows 11, a new set of requirements known as TPM 2.0 or Trusted Platform Module and hardware requirements were introduced with Windows 11. It is possible that some outdated hardware that did not match this criteria will not be able to run Windows 11. I think I experienced this personally, in which I wasn't able to to update or to upgrade my Windows operating system to Windows 11. It's because of the old chipset or the CPU that I have, which is I think i7 6th gen, but it only supports I series that are released for 9th gen. A new Microsoft Store was also unveiled, and over time, compatibility concerns and operating system stability are anticipated to be resolved by updates and patches. So this one's not only applicable to Windows 11 but into all operating systems in general. So as we progress further from Windows 95 to Windows 11, we can see that most applications are being compatible with the operating system. The last one is backup and restore procedures. So for the Windows 95, it's only limited to built-in backup and restore options. Users typically relied on third-party backup software, and manual copying is a common method for data backup. So here you can see the copy and paste using your computer's hard drive to manually copy and paste files to external storage. You can also use backup software, batch files, and the Windows backup. And same procedure for the restore procedures, where you can manually restore your files. You can manually restore your backup software, batch file, and Windows backup. So one of the key important thing to remember is that if you have this backup procedure for an application, I think there will be an included also for the restoration of those backup files. Next is Windows 98. Introduced the backup utility for basic backup tasks. Users could create backups of critical system files and settings, so you can do those using Backup Wizard, manually copying it, and system configuration backup. Then for the Windows ME or Millennium Edition, continued to use backup utility from Windows 98, enhanced features for creating system restore points. So in here, uh, you can back up the documents again using an external storage media like a CD, DVD, or USB drive, and then the system restore or the whole system itself. Then for the restoration, same process. If you can back up it using an app, a third party software, there's also a built-in function in there in which you can restore it, and then you can use the system restore, reinstall applications, and data restore using the external storage that you use as a backup. And then next is Windows XP. So introduce the system restore feature for creating restore points. A backup utility improved with more options for file and system backup. In here you can choose either backup wizard, and then after that you can choose what kind of backup you want, including differential, incremental, and standard backups. So here, if you want differential backups, copy all the files that have changed since the last normal backup. So it will only copy those files that have changed. Incremental, it only copy the files that have changed since the last backup. And normal backups copy all the files that have been selected. And then for the restoration, again, if you're using a wizard, it also has a built-in function in there which you can restore it. And then for the Windows Vista, improve system restore with a more robust interface, introduce complete PC backup for creating image-based backups. Windows Backup and Restore Center provided a centralized interface. So in here you can use Windows Backup and Restore Center. And then this complete PC backup, in which you can select the backup destination and then here to the directions displayed on the screen. So it will back up all your files and systems in your PC. Unlike before that you can only specifically choose what to back up. And then for the restore procedures, same procedure for the backup. And then for the Windows 7, uh, improve system image backup and recovery options, and introduce libraries to simplify file organization. So the one that we're currently using right now, which is the File Explorer, I believe it's the library. So it simplifies the organization because we can locate the files more easily. So for the Windows 8, integrated file history for automatic file backup and versioning, refresh and reset options for system memory, and introduce a simplified Windows 7 file recovery tool. So the file history ito has a function called file history that backs up your files automatically to an external device or a network location. So you can, or the device itself will automatically back up your files without you having to do anything unless you disable that function. But if you enable it, then it will automatically back up all your files. And then next is Windows 10. Continued with file history and system image backup, introduce reset this PC feature for a clean OS install. Windows file recovery tool for storing deleted files. So here they also introduced the OneDrive. It is a cloud storage service that allows you to automatically sync and backup files and folders. So here in OneDrive, since it's cloud storage, you won't be needing any external devices like USB or hard drive, and you can save all your files in a cloud. And then this reset this PC lets you install Windows without erasing your data. This can help you get started again or fix issues. So it also offers third-party backup solutions like Actionist True Image, Macrium Reflect, and is US Todo Backup. For the Windows 11, similar backup and features as Windows 10. So you can control both backup options in one location with Windows 11's new backup settings page. There are additional options in Windows 11 file history for selecting which folders to back up and where to save the backup file. So here it lets you choose what file or folder you want to back up and only include those folders that are important to you. And then a new feature in Windows 11 Backup and Restore. All and Restore allows you to make a system repair disk in case your computer won't boot up. And then ongoing updates and enhancement to security and backup functionality. So we can expect more updates to come since Windows 11 is relatively new. So as time goes by, you can receive updates such as security patches and backup functionalities more procedures. So for the Windows 95, using a CD-ROM or floppy disk was required for installation. For the installation to proceed, users had to boot from a floppy disk and then insert following disk or the CD. Users had to follow the setup prompts in this text-based approach. Since your Windows 95 relatively old, so you need to purchase a CD-ROM or a floppy disk that has the Windows 95 in it, and then you install that in your computer using that floppy disk or CD-ROM. Unlike what we have today, in which Microsoft can just send out the files to update and no need for any external devices or external hardware. So for the Windows 98, comparable to Windows 95, but with enhanced plug and play and hardware identification. Comparing earlier versions to later ones, the installation procedure remained largely manual. So from 95 to 98 to Windows ME, Windows XP, and then Windows Vista, you can install the operating system using external hardware like CD and or floppy disk. So for the Windows ME included the ability to recover the system and a few more multimedia features. For Windows XP, a more user-friendly graphical installation process. Users could boot directly from the installation CD. And then for the Windows Vista, again, was more aesthetically pleasing than Windows XP, improved driver support and added a partitioning phase. Also have the option booting from the installation disk or installing the OS via DVD. So for the Windows 7, improve hardware compatibility and introduce new features like Aero. Again, the uh, transparent border style. Provide an option for clean installations or upgrades from previous Windows versions. And then for the Windows 8 8.1, added the Metro UI, which marked a dramatic change from the conventional desktop experience, which is the Metro UI is the like tiled layout for the start menu. More automation resulted in a more efficient installation process, and for an update, users can download and install from the Windows Store. So since it's more automated now, which you can find the update and download it and install it from the Windows Store without having to buy a CD or to purchase a DVD. So for the Windows 10, the greatest features from Windows 7 and 8 combined added the option for customers to upgrade from Windows 7 or 8 in place, saving their data and installed apps. So meaning all since Windows 10 they mainly or the Microsoft mainly focused or gave focus to the back backward compatibility of Windows 10. So we can expect that the applications that are made from or that are made for Windows 7 or Windows 8 can still function properly in on Windows 10. So if we install Windows 10, let's say coming from a Windows 7 or Windows 8, we can expect the data and installed apps to function properly. And then there's Cortana. It was installed as part of the process to help with user device. So it automatically it was automatically being installed if you try to upgrade to Windows 10. But right now, although I'm still using Windows 10, it's not supported or it's not supporting Cortana anymore. And then Windows 11 unveiled a new visual style, a revised start menu, and a taskbar that is more focused. Like Windows 10, but with a focus on the user experience. From Windows 10, users can upgrade, and the simple installation procedure is also applicable to new installs. So, as new operating system has been introduced to us, the more the simpler the installation has become. So from having to buy a CD, having it to install to your computer, and now we're just going to download or install it from, let's say, Windows Store. But now I think it's found on the settings in which the Microsoft tells you to upgrade if you can, or it tells if you are qualified to upgrade to another OS.